Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a little bit of technical analysis on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets because there's something very interesting on the Bitcoin hourly chart that has come to my attention recently that I do believe is going to cause a very, very large breakout in Bitcoin in the next 24 to 48 hours. Now, whether that's going to be a bullish or a bearish breakout, well, that's the topic of today's video, but what I'm talking about here is that Bitcoin is currently trading in between a very important level of resistance, namely the very long-term downtrend that Bitcoin has been under for the majority of 2018, and also the very important short-term level of support that we're currently sitting above at $6,600. As you can see, Bitcoin is currently trading in between this very important level of resistance and this very important level of support, and both of these levels converge in just a little over 48 hours. So I'm expecting in the next 48 hours that Bitcoin is going to be breaking either bullish or bearish, above or below a very important level of support or resistance. So in today's video, we're going to be breaking down this formation. We're going to be breaking down some short-term technical analysis on Bitcoin, and we're also going to be trying to get to the bottom of which direction this breakout is going to happen, because no matter which direction it happens, I think it's going to be very large, and I think the potential for gains is also likewise very large. But before we get into today's video, guys, if you enjoyed today's video, definitely consider dropping a like, hitting that subscribe button, and smashing the notification bell, guys. We do cryptocurrency videos every single day, and I wouldn't want you to miss any of them. And by the way, before we get into it, I'm going to be explaining at the end of the video why today's video was up probably about 6 hours late. There is a very good reason. One of it kind of has to do with how smooth I'm able to move the charts around and the fact that this video is now in 1080p. Make sure you watch to the end because there's something interesting I want to talk about. Anyway, let's get right into it. Bitcoin is currently trading around $6,669, $6,669. Depending on what exchange you're looking at. If we give CoinMarketCap a little refresh here, what we're going to see is quite interesting. One of the first things that pops out is not the change over the last 24 hours in Bitcoin, it's actually its daily volume. You can see Bitcoin's daily volume over the last 24 hours is very, very low, just a little over $3.2 billion. Around $1.25 billion lower than it normally would be. Typically, over the last couple of months, we've seen Bitcoin's daily volume hover around $4.5 billion. So that's quite a bit lower than normal. And there's several different reasons for this, and there's several different implications that we want to discuss with this. One of the main reasons, in my opinion, that Bitcoin's volume is so low, two of the main reasons, excuse me, is that one, today is a Sunday. This is probably one of the least traded days of the week because everybody's out with their family. They may be at church. They may be out having fun. They may be doing something more interesting than losing money in the Bitcoin market on a weekend. And most of the trading that we're seeing is probably people like me who have nothing better to do, or bots. So that's probably one of the reasons that the volume is down. But another one of the reasons that the volume is likely down is because Bitcoin has moved itself up into this little wedge right here in between these levels of support and resistance, and is currently trading in a very, very tight formation right here. And that does typically drop the volume off. And there is something interesting and there is something important that we need to discuss on the volume. I've talked about this in a couple of other videos, namely in yesterday's video, which you can watch in the top right if you're interested. But one of the main reasons that we want to talk about Bitcoin's volume, daily volume, is because Bitcoin's volume has massive implications on how powerful breakouts are. Because when you have low volume, typically what correlates with low volume is a thin order book. And when you have a thin order book, that typically means that levels of support and levels of resistance are less well defended because the order book is thinner and there's less orders to actually hold those levels of support and resistance. So when you have low volume, it typically means the levels of support and resistance are weaker. And that's important for what we're talking about today, because we are talking about a potential very large breakout of a level of support or a level of resistance in the next 24 to 48 hours. And if this volume doesn't pick back up, low volume can actually help create very large movements. You know all those little Bart Simpson patterns that we've seen so much on Bitcoin? Like you could kind of call that one. You might call that an inverse Bart Simpson pattern. Or you might call this a Bart Simpson pattern. A lot of that has to do with low volume and low liquidity in a market when there's not very many people defending evenly the large range of Bitcoin. So to give a kind of a visual example to that, say the order book is right here and this represents $6,000, and then the next sell order is over here, and then all this volume, you don't have anything sitting in there. So it's very easy for Bitcoin to move from $6,000 to maybe, say, $6,500. So it's very easy for Bitcoin to move when there's very low volume because the liquidity is spread out, and it's just easier for Bitcoin to get through levels of resistance and support. And that is important because we're talking about a breakout of an important level of resistance or an important level of support, and you don't really want to accidentally break a very important level of support or a very important level of resistance if you're shorting, depending on what perspective you're looking at the market from. So that's something we want to keep an eye on, is Bitcoin's volume, for precisely that reason. Bitcoin is currently down around 0.69% over the last 24 hours. You can see it's coming up a little bit here over the last hour or so. We've seen Bitcoin trend generally downward over the last hour, over the last 24 hours or so. We did come down here and get support down here at the all-important level of support of $6,600, which I'm very happy about. I'm very happy to see that we did get a a bullish bounce off of that. Did not want to see a bearish breakout of $6,600, and I'm glad that we did reconfirm that as a level of support, which we had recently done over here. If we check the altcoins are doing kind of okay. We see 5 double-digit gainers, but overall the market is red. We do still see more red than we do green, but that red isn't as severe. We do see 1 double-digit loser in Pivx, which is down about 11%. Walton Chain is up about 17%. I know some of you guys are big fans of Walton Chain. Ethereum is currently trading around $275 with $1.195 billion in daily trading volume. That's one of the lowest volumes I've seen for Ethereum in quite some time, and the same thing goes for Bitcoin as well. Bitcoin's daily volume is quite low today, and we've talked about just a second ago the importance and the significance of that. Anyway, I believe that's all we wanted to cover here on CoinMarketCap. Bitcoin's dominance hasn't changed a whole lot. It's been sitting up here around 53% over the last couple of weeks. Total market capitalization is hovering around $215 billion. So let's go ahead and get into the main point of today's video, which is this little formation that Bitcoin is in. Let's go ahead and talk about why this formation is important. I'm going to talk about some things that I haven't. We're going to talk about why this formation is important, talk about the formation, and then we're going to try to get to the bottom of which direction this breakout that I'm expecting is coming. So one thing that's kind of interesting is that when you see Bitcoin, imagine Bitcoin's going on a rally and its market looks something like this, and it might come up here and start forming a little pennant. Say it does a little pennant like that, and you have your uptrend right there, and you have your uptrend and your uptrend right there, and you form yourself a little pennant. Typically what you see Bitcoin do is you see Bitcoin move up, and then it forms its own pennant based on its own price action, and then you draw the level of resistance or support based on its price action. Well, Bitcoin has actually done the opposite here. Bitcoin has moved up, and the price action has been respecting already well-established levels of support and resistance. Now, I just thought I'd point that out because you don't see that happen very often. Typically, in a normal market, if Bitcoin were to move up like this, in the same way it did up here, it would start forming a pennant maybe or a bull flag, and then we'd see levels of support and resistance kind of form around that price action. But in this case, we've actually seen the price action form around the levels of support and resistance. That is definitely something that was kind of interesting that I wanted to bring your attention to. Now, like I said in the intro, Bitcoin is in a very tight pattern right here. We talked about in many videos how important the level of $6,600 is. As we see, if we check over on the chart, we're going to see Bitcoin got resistance here. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. We got resistance right here, right here, right here, right here. We had a false breakout. We broke through, got support. The level of $6,600 is an extremely important level of support in short-term Bitcoin technical analysis, and the downtrend that we're looking at right now is a very important downtrend, in the history of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin has been respecting it ever since about May right here, when we actually really properly established it with our high up here at $10,000. Ever since then, this has been a very powerful downtrend. Of course, it wasn't a very powerful downtrend back over here because it wasn't very well established. But since we got this $10,000 hit up here, there's been a very important downtrend that's been very well respected in the Bitcoin market. And with that in mind, we have a very important level of support on below us and a very important level of resistance on top of us. So if we break one of them, it's likely going to be a very dramatic breakout of them. And of course, they do cross over here. I just want to do a little recap so that we're all on the same page about that. And now we're going to get into my opinion on which way this market is going to go. I'm going to get it out of the way right at the very beginning because you guys know that I, of course, do have a bias. I am a human being after all. I do think Bitcoin is going to break the downtrend, and I do think it breaking that downtrend is going to result in a new Bitcoin rally. I talked about that in yesterday's video. I've already linked that up here in the top right. If you click the eye, you can go back to yesterday's video where I talked about why I believe Bitcoin breaking this downtrend is going to lead into a rally. And I really do believe that. And it's not something that can't happen, guys. It's not been unprecedented. It's something that the technicals, in my opinion anyway, are pointing to, and here they are. One of the main reasons that I believe it is going to be not necessarily easy, but definitely possible for us to break this downtrend is simply historical precedent. If we come back on here to the hour chart, something we need to keep in mind is that Bitcoin has broken this level before. It's not unconquered territory. It's not an unconquered level of resistance that Bitcoin has never gotten through before. No, Bitcoin has gotten through this level of resistance before. Bitcoin, back over here, in July, close to the end of July, Bitcoin did get above this level, and depending on how you draw, you could kind of draw the downtrend right through there. And Bitcoin broke above this downtrend in a spectacular way. Bitcoin moved quite a long way. If we grab our ruler here, then we can see about how far it moved. If we say right here and we moved up to here, Bitcoin moved around 7% after it broke out of that. That's definitely not a move to scoff at when we're talking about Bitcoin, especially when we're in a bear market, and that's a bullish move. Bitcoin has broken above this level before, and it has also proven that when it breaks this level, it typically results in a lot of bullish price action. So guys, just because this is a very important level of resistance, don't think that we can't break it just because it's powerful, because we've done it before. And when we did do it before, it was a very, very good thing for the Bitcoin market, depending on how you look at it, because this breakout did eventually lead to this downtrend. But we did see a very, very big green candlestick at the time. So it is definitely possible that we can see a breakout above this. Something else we want to talk about is something that we've talked about in many videos before, so I'm going to be brief, and that would be the daily MACD. We've talked a lot about the daily MACD ever since back over here. I don't remember the exact day, which was the first time I started talking about wanting to see a bullish daily MACD cross. I think it was over here on like the 10th of August, the 9th, 10th, 11th of August, somewhere around here. I was talking about how these two lines were starting to curve back into each other. The MACD line was starting to curve back up towards the signal line, and I was hoping for a bullish cross on the daily chart, which would help give us confirmation for a new rally. And that's exactly what we saw a little or close to a week ago back here on the 21st. If we zoom in, it may have been the 20th, but I believe it was the 21st that this MACD cross happened. And since it did, Bitcoin has been continuing to move up, and Bitcoin has gotten a bullish confirmation from this MACD cross. It's a very good thing indeed, and it is definitely going to help push Bitcoin up, because typically when you see a bullish MACD cross on the daily chart, you don't just normally see the MACD line come straight back below the signal line like down here. You just normally don't see that. Normally you see a little bit more bullish follow through than we've seen so far. It would be kind of strange if this were a fake out, just because of how short this bullish MACD cross has been. Now, with that in mind, that has happened before. We have seen fake out breakouts over here like these. We have seen fake out bullish MACD crosses before, so it's not unprecedented, but it is something that's more uncommon than its counter, which would be the continuation of a rally. Something else we want to talk about is another indicator that I've become very fond of lately. That would be the Heikin-Ashi candlestick formation, or the Heikin-Ashi candlestick pattern here. As we can see, the Heikin-Ashi chart does a very good job of distilling down and boiling down major market moves on the interval that you're looking at. And as you can see, normally whenever the market goes green, that typically happens right around the reversal of the market. When it goes red, typically happens right around the reversal of the market. And as you can see, we're currently green, and the Heikin-Ashi would indicate to me anyway that we are going to continue up, because we've only seen about 5 days of Heikin-Ashi green after a little bit of a red correction right here. And typically, based on what I've seen in the past, and basically based on the way this Heikin-Ashi chart works, I would expect for Bitcoin to continue moving up from here. Another thing that we want to look at is the 20 daily EMA, guys. I know I talk about the 20 daily EMA a lot. A lot of you guys are probably tired of hearing about it, but it's a very important level of support and resistance for the Bitcoin market. As we've talked about ad infinitum, we've talked about this level so many times. Bitcoin loves getting resistance on this level, loves getting resistance on it, loves getting support on it, resistance on it, support on it, resistance on it. Bitcoin loves this level, and Bitcoin has broken it. In the last 3 days, Bitcoin did break it, and we did come down here on a Wix and get support at it. You can see Bitcoin pulled back down here on a Wix. On a wick, I'm sorry. A lot of people are like, yeah, Jeb, or a lot of people have been telling me in the comments that the plural of wick is Wix, and the singular of Wix is wick. I know that. It's just leave me alone, okay? We're doing TA here. Anyway, Bitcoin did pull back down here to the 20 daily EMA on a wick, excuse me. And it has actually started a little bounce here. I would imagine, based on the fact that we did get a bounce here off of the level of $6,600 and the 20 daily EMA, based on both of those two things, I think we're also going to continue the rally. And another thing that we want to talk about, I know I'm kind of just throwing a lot of bullish things at you guys, and I'm going to, if I can think of anything bearish, I'm going to show it to you. I haven't really managed to find too much, although there is one thing that I will show you. Another thing that we want to talk about that's bullish for Bitcoin is that Bitcoin has been trading up here around the downtrend for quite some time. I've talked about in the past, when a market likes to trade around a level of support or resistance, if it keeps pushing up and it keeps hitting its head against a level of resistance, eventually that level of resistance is going to fail and you're going to break it. Now, we've seen this happen plenty of times in the past. I'll show you an example that I've cited many times in recent videos. If we come over here, you can see that's the level right there. If my internet will speed up, then we'll be able to see. Come on, you want to speed up? There we go. So as we can see back over here, Bitcoin was hitting its head up here around around $7,500. We hit our head, 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 and then we finally broke it. So Bitcoin had to hit its head up against $7,500 over here like 8 times before it was able to actually break it. And we've seen Bitcoin do the same thing right over here around this downtrend in the last week or so. We saw one hit up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 in the next couple of hours. Bitcoin's been hitting its head against this level of resistance many times, which means the bulls keep pushing Bitcoin up here to test this level of resistance, and eventually it's going to fail. And the bears aren't going to be able to hold it, especially with the low volume like we talked about earlier on in the video. So I do think Bitcoin is most likely going to break this level of resistance. And based on everything we've talked about in today's video, when it does break this level of resistance, I think it's going to break it in a very spectacular way, because if it breaks this level of resistance, As I talked about in yesterday's video, I think that is the last confirmation that I need to see anyway to say that Bitcoin is officially going into a rally, like I said, in my opinion anyway. If it breaks bearish out of this and Bitcoin does go below $6,600 like some people are predicting, that's going to be very bad for Bitcoin because Bitcoin would have gotten above $6,600 twice and failed to get above it, and I would probably be expecting a retracement down to $6,250 at least, or maybe even down to $6,000. With that said, I don't think that's likely. What I think is most likely is that Bitcoin is going to break bullish above this level of resistance, above this downtrend of resistance, and we are going to be moving into a new rally over the next couple of days. So tell me in the comment section down below, what do you think? Is Bitcoin about to start a new rally? Is Bitcoin about to break bearish and then go below $6,600, $6,250, $6,000, $5,750, and then keep going lower? I'm interested, as always, to hear your opinion. I will go ahead and show you the bearish thing that a lot of people have been pointing my attention to in the Discord server and in the comment section, and that is that if we do get resistance up here, what we're going to see form is a head and shoulders pattern with a shoulder there, a head there, and a shoulders there. Now that would form a head and shoulders pattern. Typically, you see a head and shoulders pattern at the top of a trend, not at the bottom of one. But if we did see that, it would be bearish for Bitcoin. But that doesn't really matter until we actually get a confirmed breakdown here to like 6,250 again. If we do get a breakdown below these levels of support, then that's going to be an important formation. But since it hasn't actually formed yet, a lot of its power isn't there yet. So that's why I wanted to bring to your attention on the bearish side, guys. One last thing we want to talk about is the Bitcoin shorts, because the Bitcoin shorts are a very, very powerful indicator of where Bitcoin is going. And the Bitcoin shorts, as we know, are definitely overextended. The Bitcoin shorts ran all the way up to $40,000, and they've been kind of tapering off and falling off over the last 3, 4, 5 days, and they are probably going to continue going down since Bitcoin is continuing to go up even in this video. So if the shorts continue going down and everything I've talked about in today's video plays out, I'm expecting a bullish breakout above the level of resistance, which is the downtrend, and I think it's going to move into a new rally. But like I said earlier, tell me in the comment section down below, what do you guys think? Is Bitcoin going to break the downtrend and start a new bull rally, or is it going to break below $6,600 and continue going downward? Tell me in the comment section and in the poll in the top right. But anyway, guys, the last thing I wanted to talk about was, I almost forgot to talk about this, was why this video was out late. I'm recording this at 2:47 in the afternoon instead of like 8 a.m. like I normally am, and the reason for that is because I got home at like 2 a.m. last night because I was building my new computer. You guys, if you go to the community tab on the YouTube channel, you can come here, and that's the graphics card, and the PC part picker list is somewhere down here. I posted it down here somewhere in case you guys are interested in the specs of the new computer, which I am now recording this video on. I've been setting up the computer all morning and benchmarking it and performance testing it and setting up everything I need to actually be able to record the video, so that's why the video is up late. Tomorrow's video should be up at the normal time, or it may be an hour later. I may have to change the scheduling for one reason or another. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, guys. Tell me in the comment section down below where you think the market is going. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. I want to thank each and every single one of you for watching, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.